Something's fishy about this college football slate. I can feel it in my bones. We obviously know we have some amazing matchups at night. Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, Alabama. Is there a chance that we leave Saturday with a different game, with a different outcome, leading everybody's show, everybody's talking point, all the reactions? I think something crazy is going to happen this weekend that we're not expecting. And yes, that is what we call a teaser. Welcome in to the SpringBlake College Football Show. It is our Friday episode, September 26th, just a day before Week 5 of the college football season kicks off. Awesome slate, so many games. Before we get into everything we're going to discuss today, if this is your first time into the SpringBlake College Football Show, thank you for joining us. This is your favorite ball knower's favorite ball knowing show. If you are watching on YouTube, please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you like what I say. If you don't, just subscribe so you can tell me everything you hate about it. I appreciate the support, both positive and negative. I'll take whatever feedback you guys have. But make sure you support this show one way or another. If you're listening, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star review, subscribe to the show. Any support you guys give to me, I try to give tenfold in worth of content. And make sure to head over to the socials. That is both TikTok and Twitter. You can find me at SpringBlake CFB, where you get everything from this show, but stuff that stretches beyond it. You'll get my full betting card. You'll get my reactions during the games. You'll get, I don't know, if I'm up pretty late at night, smoke a little weed, maybe you'll get some high thoughts on just the world, maybe a little politics. Maybe Blakey politics will come out late at night if you play your cards right. Either way, the socials at SpringBlake CFB. Thank you for supporting this show through our first 22 episodes. So, lots to discuss today. We have our best bets of the week for Week 5. I'm going to give you my 5 best plays, and just say it again. We're rolling this year. We're going to keep things rolling. So make sure you stay for that at the end of the show. We're also going to do some storm chasing, which is a thing that I did last year when this show really just existed on TikTok as clips. We're going to do some storm chasing because we got a lot of outcomes that we want to kind of just keep an eye on, see if there's any upset potential. But before we do all that, we do have a third match this Saturday that we didn't get to preview on Wednesday's show that features 2 of my top 16 teams in the country. Brian Kelly's LSU Tigers heading to Oxford in what I'm calling, and what many are calling, the Landry Kiffin Bowl. Who will win, Whit Weeks or Lane? So, big game here between these two teams within the SEC. The stories for the season, for LSU, it's just the fact that I need more. I need to see more from this offense. The further we work through the Tiger schedule, the less impressed I am with Brian Kelly's group. Clemson, absolute waste of space in the sport. Florida doesn't know how to complete a forward pass. Everybody else has been, against high school level competition, a bunch of noodles, nobody that we can really take any frame of reference for what this LSU offense is supposed to be. I came into this season having big questions about the offense. I'm sitting here heading into Week 5 having the same exact questions. LSU is running the football under 44% of the time this year. That is 109th in the country. Last year, LSU's biggest issue was they relied on Garrett Nussmeier far too often. And because of that, you're putting the pressure of the world on a kid, and he's going to make mistakes. He had 12 interceptions last year, a few games where he couldn't be Superman, and that's why LSU fell short of their expectations. It's happening again, and we haven't even gotten really into the SEC schedule just yet. So I'm very concerned for LSU heading into a hostile environment against a really talented team. If Garrett Nussmeier needs to do much again, they could be in for some trouble here. So that's the story for LSU. Will they figure this thing out on offense where there's balance between the run and the pass game, or will they just continue to ride the same issues that they ran into last year? Because it is going to hurt them at some point. Is that this weekend? We're going to find out. And for Ole Miss, the story, I guess, has been the story for years now, and this is just another further example of it. It just doesn't matter, does it? Lane Kiffin could probably put me in at quarterback at this point and make the offense work. Trinidad Chambliss comes from Ferris State, comes in for Austin Simmons after he gets banged up, and he has been unbelievable as Ole Miss quarterback. 68% completion rate, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He has 200 yards and 2 scores on the ground, and nearly 13 air yards per attempt. This is kind of like, you know how we've said with Tennessee that Joey Aguilar is like getting back to the Hendon Hooker type thing? Austin Simmons, the first few weeks, there was not really much of pushing the ball down the field. I think he averaged like 8 air yards per attempt, and it was very much coddling at the time. Trinidad comes in, and it's back to the explosives, the downfield shots. Like, you are getting much more of a Lane Kiffin type offense with Trinidad in under center. But that being said, kind of like what we just said with LSU, how will it look going up against a defense that isn't made out of paper mache? You know, it was Arkansas first, I believe. Arkansas has one of the worst defenses in the sport. I think is like in the 116 range in terms of passing yards allowed or explosive play rate. Really bad. They did go up against Tulane and whooped on them. I do have a lot of respect for John Summerall. We're actually betting him at the end of this show. But again, Blake Baker and LSU up here, Arkansas and Tulane down here. So that's really what I'm looking forward to. And that's what kind of the matchup for this game is to me. We're sticking with the LSU offense. The Ole Miss offense against the LSU defense. Trinidad Chambliss versus really the linebacker room of LSU. And that's Whit Weeks. That can be Harold Perkins, who's playing the star position. If there has been a weakness to Blake Baker's defense since taking over at LSU, it has been stopping mobile quarterbacks. Jalen Milroe last year had 185 yards on the ground. Marcel Reed, not a ton of rushing yards, but 3 touchdowns on the ground. Jackson Arnold, 75 yards when he was at Oklahoma. This defense is built on just being a full-out sprint. See ball, get ball. And that's great when you have simple offenses that you're going up against that don't have mobile quarterbacks. But when you have an offense that introduces the run-pass option or the read option offense, it's a little bit harder to find that football when it's moving all over the place. You might think, okay, well, this is a run play that's going to the left, but so we're just going to sprint down and make the stop there. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, wait, no, the quarterback still has it, and he's thrown it out to the right side. Now you've got your defense all out of sorts, all out of place, and that has been what has hurt LSU's defense in certain spots because it's been great overall under Blake Baker. But again, this is kind of one of those matchups where if Chambliss is the real deal and he looks the part against LSU and it wasn't just beating up on lesser competition, and Lane is in his bag because I think he's got a pretty good understanding of what he has at the quarterback position, then this could be a really bad day for the LSU defense. But I'm still going to put a little bit of faith into the Tigers defensively because to me, there's still a little bit of smoke and mirrors when it comes to Lane and Trinidad in this short sample size, now having to go up against what I believe to be just a more talented defense than what they've had to face so far. There are a lot of numbers that stick out about this game. This has been a rivalry that has heavily favored the home team. Not only has the home team won the last 5 straight games, they've also covered the last 7 games and covered 11 out of the last 12. So this is one that favors the home dog more often than not. And then 5 of the last 12 games between these teams have been outright upsets. You're getting a ton of underdogs going in and sealing the deal. Now for the team specifically, Lane Kiffin, as we all know, great at home, 27-6 straight up as the head coach of Ole Miss. And while Brian Kelly is known for not getting over the hump here at LSU and not exceeding expectations or even meeting them, don't try and doubt him when Vegas makes him an underdog. He is 46-26-2 against the spread over his career, a game in which now he finds himself as the short underdog on the road. And the last one I'll give you, over lovers are going to like this one. 6 of the last 8 meetings between this two teams have hit the over. The number is sitting at 54.5 as we speak and record this show. So let's land the plane on this game. Much like everyone else, I went into this week thinking the same thing. Ole Miss is playing better football right now. I have the same questions about LSU that I had last year. Ole Miss is at home. They've got a high-powered offense. Let's just go with what we've seen the last couple of weeks. And as I started finishing writing my pre-show notes, I said, hold the phone. That's exactly what they want you to think. But we're ball knowers here. We know what they want us to think is the exact opposite of what is going to happen. I have all the respect in the world for Lane Kiffin. I think he is one of the more fun offensive minds in this sport, a great head coach. This team specifically at Ole Miss is not of the same talent or caliber that they were in years past, especially on defense. Last year, Ole Miss had one of the best defenses in the country, and I believe they had to replace 8 or 9 starters this past offseason, and we've seen them struggle at different points. They shut down Tulane, but Arkansas really stuck it to them, hung around for a while. Kentucky kept things close. The unit I trust most in this game is LSU's defense, even though I have questions about them stopping mobile quarterbacks. And I also don't think that LSU's offense is going to have like a lousy day against Ole Miss. If Arkansas can put up the 35 or 36 and Kentucky can keep things close and march up and down the field, I'm not saying that I'm going to leave this game being like LSU solved all their problems, but I don't think they're going to have a tough time moving against what I think is a not that great Ole Miss defense. So again, I'm not saying I'm going to leave this weekend being like all my LSU questions have been answered. But I do think they have a significant enough talent advantage where the offense will be able to move up and down the field on Ole Miss, and the defense, even if it struggles with the quarterback run, will be able to stop maybe some of the explosives or the running back room as a whole. I'm going to take the Tigers by a final score of 31-27, and this just starting to kind of steamroll, kind of giving more fuel to Brian Kelly. He was pissed in that, was it 2 weeks ago? Last week? I don't know. Some press conference, he was really pissed about talking about the team's lack of offense. He just is going to start stacking wins. They're not going to be pretty ones. We're going to be sitting here saying the same things of like, yeah, I still don't believe it, but hey, they're 5-0. I think that's what's going to happen here in this game. So give me LSU to win narrowly in what I do believe will be another high-scoring game. So that is my thoughts on the third biggest matchup of the weekend. We're going to take a little bit of a water break, put our ponchos on, get our umbrellas out. We're going to go storm chasing.
My name's Blake.
So as I just mentioned, we alluded to this at the beginning of the show as well. We are bringing in a new segment here at the SpringBlake College Football Show for our Friday pods. It was something I did on social media last year. It was a fun little teaser to get us into the weekend and to just get some quicker check-ins to games. Certain games deserve the 10 to 12 minute breakdowns, and we'll try to do those for as many of the big ones as possible. And we hit the 3 matchups that are, to me, top 15, top 20 caliber programs. But there's a lot of interesting games this weekend, folks. Everybody knows it. I spoke about it the other day. Like, if you are not sitting on your couch from noon Eastern until midnight, you're going to miss out on some fantastic football. So this is called Storm Chasers. I'm sorry if you think the segment is corny or dumb. I think it's fun. Maybe I'll cut off the sleeves of a poncho and put that on for next episode, get a nice umbrella in here. But we are just going to go various spots in the country, talk about some games that have a little bit of some storm potential, a little bit of upset potential. And we're going to send our weather team down first to Starkville, Mississippi, where the high-powered Tennessee Vols offense is set to take on a somewhat rejuvenated Bulldogs program under Jeff Lebby in what I believe is his second season at Mississippi State. When looking at the storm potential for this game, I've got my eyes in the sky. Blake Shapen, he's not a top 5 or top 10 quarterback in the nation, but he is a serviceable, sturdy quarterback for the Bulldogs here. And meanwhile, Tennessee's defense ranks 126th in the country in passing yards allowed so far this year. I think of, Steve Angeli throwing it up and down the field on them in week 1. Obviously, Gunnar Stockton had a good day through the air a couple weeks ago. Blake Shapen is not maybe this top elite quarterback, but they've got enough pieces there to where I think they could move the ball through the air and get some nice chunk plays. And while Joey Aguilar, on the flip side, has been the dude for the Vols this season, he looks awesome. It is also his first true road test in the SEC, heading into a tough environment. The cowbells are going to be going crazy. And this is also a Mississippi State defense that just held Sam Leavitt to the worst game of his career a few weeks ago. I think it was like 12 of 22, couple interceptions, 120-something yards. Like the Mississippi State Bulldogs at home did nice against what was a really high-octane offense just a couple weeks ago. Now, I believe Tennessee might be a little bit stronger, but it's something to keep our eyes on when we're evaluating Storm potential. However, while I might feel a certain type of way through the air, I think Josh Heupel is one of the more trustworthy coaches in this sport, and because of that, this run game should have a field day against Mississippi State. Everybody likes to think about the Vols as like, oh, they take deep shots down the field. It is all built between the tackles. They have a fantastic run game. It's going to show up here. I think we're going to put the Storm potential, the Storm radar down at a low 30%. It's still there because you are getting SEC teams. One's coming into another's stadium. One team we have high expectations for, one we have low expectations for that has been overperforming them. It's 30%. It's low. I'm going to give it a chance for the upset to happen here. But I think Heupel, if he sticks true to himself, they're going to be running the football up and down the field and not really giving Mississippi State that many chances to put points up on the board. So that's our first stop in Storm Chasers. 30%. 30% likelihood of a storm down there in Starkville. Let's head up the country a little bit. We're going to go to Champaign, Illinois, where the Fighting Illini are still licking their wounds from a 53-point loss the week prior against Indiana. And if high-octane offenses are keeping Brett Bielema up late at night after what he saw last week from Kurt Cignetti, boy, oh boy, Lincoln Riley's crew's coming into town. Lincoln Riley's crew is here. Now, the Storm potential, oddly enough, is still with Illinois. USC enters this game as 6.5-point favorites. The reason that this has Storm potential is the timing of it. USC played an 11 p.m. Eastern start time last weekend against Michigan State. So they started a game at 11 p.m. Eastern. Now they have to travel across the country to the Midwest and play a game that starts at 11 a.m. Central. It is just one of those really bad rust situations here where USC is going to be coming in and faced with a situation that is not too kind to teams through the history of this sport. So you have that playing against them. You have Illinois. You have USC already facing a really tough transition from the game that they had just played. And you're also going up against an Illinois team that is in desperation mode. A second straight loss here from Brett Bielema's group, and still having games against Ohio State and Washington on the schedule would make an at-large bid for the college football playoffs extremely unlikely. However, I do not think this story in this sport is about Illinois. It's about USC. I have never thought that Illinois was a legit player for, being considered in the top tier of the Big Ten. And I've had USC rated as a top 16 team since the early parts of this regular season. USC has a clear advantage in terms of roster talent, a clear advantage at the quarterback position. Jordan Maeva has been fantastic with Lincoln Riley so far this year. And I also think they have the better head coach. If they can handle the travel, if they can handle coming out at a short notice and turning around and getting up for an 11 a.m. game, I think they'll be fine. So we're going to set the Storm potential at just 35%, a little bit higher than Tennessee's against Mississippi State, but still pretty low. I'm going to give it a 35% likelihood that a Storm brews in Champaign. So that's 2 games down. We're going to move the radar back down a little bit now to College Station, Texas, and Kyle Field, where the Texas A&M Aggies are searching for their first 4-0 start in program history since 2014. Not in program history. Their first 4-0 start since 2014, and they are welcoming in a Hugh Freeze-led Auburn program, fresh off a very close loss to Oklahoma. Everything about this game screams Texas A&M. You have a team, an Aggie team that is coming off their bye week, and Oklahoma is on the second leg of back-to-back SEC road trips, and they haven't had a bye this week, and they've played 5 straight games. Third road trip overall. You have a clear rest advantage here to the Aggies. You also have Jackson Arnold in as the quarterback for Auburn. Against Oklahoma last week, he was sacked 10 times and will now face a Texas A&M group that has a high pressure rate all this season. Cassius Howell, one of the best pure edge rushers in the sport. Auburn's defense is also one of the worst teams when it comes to surrendering explosive passing plays down the field. Few teams have been better at creating explosive passing plays this year than Texas A&M, with Marcel Reed at quarterback, Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion out wide. But you know what? That's a whole lot of stuff there that is hard to replicate. I have felt that Texas A&M has really been playing with fire here by living and dying by the explosive passing game. It just might not show up one day. Marcel might not hit on his deep shots to Craver and Concepcion. One of them might get hobbled up. And I've yet to see A&M's offense figure out the easy parts, figure out the run game, figure out the short to intermediate throwing. I worry that in just a game's notice, all of a sudden, their greatest strength could become a weakness. And also, at the same time, I don't think A&M's front is nearly as good as Oklahoma's. Now, I think they have a great player, but Oklahoma's front seven is, to me, the best in the country. So I don't think you're getting to Jackson Arnold 10 times again in this one. I think the Auburn offensive line is being looked at in a low light based off last week's game. They're much better than people are giving them credit for, and I think this will be a really even matchup here. The path for a storm in this game is pretty easy for me to figure out. It's one where Auburn, as they have been all season, is effectively running the football, where Jackson Arnold isn't really asked to do too much in the passing game, and something where the tackling issues for Texas A&M pop up as they have every game this season. They miss a ton of tackles. They're going to be down potentially two of their starting defenders. They're out with a safety who had a really unfortunate head injury against Notre Dame. Scooby Williams, the linebacker, not too sure if he's going to be out there just yet at the time we're recording this. So to me, if Auburn is just like slowly marching down the field, and it's not pretty at all times, but hey, there's a field goal, hey, there's a touchdown, and A&M just doesn't maybe have it in the explosive passing game, storm is really likely. I think A&M is the better team, but not by as much as people are probably thinking heading into this. So the storm is set at a dead even 50% likelihood. I'm not pushing it to the likely. It's going to be right down the middle. I could see it not happening. I could see it happening. 50% chance of a storm happening in Kyle Field on Saturday. We got two more to discuss. And as you can tell, we're bumping up the likelihood. We went 30, we went 35, we're at 50. You see this shirt? If you're watching on YouTube, you do. We're heading out to the Pacific Northwest, where storms are the name of the game. And we've got one of the most talented teams in the country heading out west. Tough environment, really interesting outcome or game in Husky Stadium. Ohio State, last year's defending national champions, opened up as more than 2 touchdown favorites in this game against Washington, a line that has now shrunk all the way down to 8.5. Well, why is that, Blake? Well, if you've been here, long time on the show, I gave you my teams for the 2025 season when this thing started. And one of them was the Washington Huskies. They have, to me, one of the best trios offensively in the entire sport. And it's Damon Williams at quarterback, it's Jonah Coleman at running back, and it's Denzel Boston out wide. I believe that trio, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, is the best trio in the Big Ten. So we've got all that going. Now, there's certain issues with the team. They're flawed. Their defense isn't perfect. They do get to the quarterback at a high rate, but the defense isn't perfect. The offensive line, fine. They maybe don't have a ton of depth at receiver. But what's to say that a really talented quarterback and a really talented running back and a really talented wide receiver aren't capable of completing, pushing Ohio State's defense around and making things tight in this game? I certainly remember how bad Texas looked against Ohio State in week 1, but I also remember late in the game how Texas was able to get the ball moving, and it was a little bit more creative play calling, stretching the ball down the field. Sark started to open up the offense, and all of a sudden, Texas actually was moving the ball on Ohio State's defense. That's Washington's bread and butter. The trickery, the complexity, the pushing the ball down to your best playmakers. I think that Washington's offense is going to be able to put up points on Ohio State's defense. I think that's going to happen. Now, Ohio State should have a sizable advantage offensively versus Washington's defense, but you are also getting a quarterback in Julian Sayin, who is playing his first true road game of his career. Tough environment. Washington's a tough place to play. He's going to find that out in less than a day. And Ohio State, as a program, is kind of prone to slow starts in conference play. That game against Nebraska last year, they had 0 points in the first half, or they were down in the first half. This team takes a while to get going. And they looked great the last few weeks, but remember, they started a little slow against Texas too. Their offense wasn't popping off the charts against the Longhorns. I think we found our first storm here, ladies and gents. I'm putting the radar at 60%. I think we could be in for a doozy of a conversation surrounding this game come Monday's show, and I am not taking it lightly here. I think the Washington Huskies are going to keep this game close with Ohio State, and I think it's likely that we see a storm here Saturday afternoon. And how about that too? We're gonna have that early afternoon game. We're all going to be waiting for 6:30 or 6:30 Central when I'm watching, and it's like, oh, we're almost ready for Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon, Penn State. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, we got to keep our eyes on this other TV because Washington's up 4 on Ohio State in the fourth quarter. Keep your eyes on that game, folks. Keep your eyes on it. We got one more game. Storm Chasers got one more game. Yes, we have a game we're going above 60%. We are headed to Nam. What did they call it? Argenham? No, I'm getting that wrong. We are headed to Hog Country. Yes, Sam Pittman's Arkansas Razorbacks, coming off a devastating last-second loss to Memphis, are just 4.5-point underdogs to the visiting Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And yes, you are correct. That is the same Notre Dame Fighting Irish that are 1-2 on the season, but those 2 losses are to Texas A&M and Miami by a combined 4 points. And interesting. Just 4.5-point favorites coming up against an Arkansas team that has lost 2 games straight, one being to a G5 opponent? This is your rat line of the week. The reason for this line being so short is because of Taylon Green. He is not just one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. He's also one of the harder players to defend in this entire sport. He's fantastic at creating explosive shots down the field, and he's also great at running the football. I think he's about over 8 yards a carry this season. I'm worried for the Irish in this one. I really am. As of now, recording this, Leonard Moore is questionable to play. This defense has been a shell of itself compared to what we saw out of the Fighting Irish last season, and this is not the kind of team you want to go up against. I do believe Notre Dame will be able to put up points on Arkansas's defense, but Arkansas's offense should have plenty of opportunities to keep pace in this game and to put up 30-plus points on this Notre Dame defense. This radar is the highest of our week in Storm Chasers, sitting at 70% chance of a storm. I do not like this situation for Notre Dame here, and I think we're in for seeing their season come to an end. And yes, it's tough to say that before October even hits, but a 3-loss team, 1-3 start, you're not making the college football playoffs in this sport. Storm Chasers, 70% chance of a storm happening in Arkansas this Saturday. I do not like this spot for Notre Dame. That's Storm Chasers. I hope we get to do this every week. I hope there's enough games that make us, even if there's 3, I think we could fit that in. But that is Storm Chasers. Let's finish up this show with our best bets of the week. I allude to it every episode. Your boy is raking in the money. I gave you 4 winners last week. We went 4-1. Winner in Miami, Florida under. We hit the under in Texas Tech, Utah. We hit Kansas, minus 13.5 against West Virginia. We lost Baylor, minus 2.5. The Bears did us dirty against Arizona State. And our 4th win was Temple, plus 24.5 at Georgia Tech. We are up 5.82 units on the season. We're 15-9-1 overall. I got 5 plays for you. We are starting Friday night, the night this show comes out. Houston, minus 13.5 against Oregon State. This is a system play. This is Connor Wegman, going up against a team that I don't think is covered once this season. This is just a system play. If it loses, blame the system. Don't blame me. We are going to go to Louisville. We're actually going to go to Pittsburgh. We're going to go to Louisville versus Pitt. We're taking the Cardinals minus 4.5. This is purely a I believe in Jeff Brom and Miller Moss bet. I think this team is going to start stacking some impressive wins in conference play to remain in that second tier of the ACC, where they're not Miami, maybe they're not Florida State, maybe they're not Georgia Tech, I think is how I'd go. But they're in that range of like, oh, a few things go their way and they're playing for an ACC title game. I think that run starts here. Give me to cover 4.5 against Pitt. We're taking Washington plus 8.5 against Ohio State. I just like that the number is outside of a touchdown. I think Ohio State can win. They could win big. They could screw me over here. This could be one of those everybody hyped up Washington and then they got their doors blown off. That could very well happen. I like the number. We're going to take the Huskies to cover 8.5. We are going to Tulane minus 14.5 against Tulsa. I think this is a get-right spot for the Wave after being blown out the week prior by Ole Miss. Tulsa is coming off a big Power 4 win over Oklahoma State. Is it because it's Oklahoma State? Probably not, but a big win. I think you're going to get these teams crisscrossing paths here. Tulane blows the doors off Tulsa, and they cover the 14.5. And our fifth and final play, I think Penn State, I said it on Wednesday's show, I think Penn State is going to rout Oregon here at night in Happy Valley. So I'll take the measly 3.5 points. Give me Penn State to cover the spread there, that Saturday night game. So 5 best bets. Houston minus 13.5. Oregon State, that's a Friday night play. Louisville minus 4.5 at Pitt. Washington plus 8.5 versus Ohio State. Tulane minus 14.5 against Tulsa. And Penn State minus 3.5 against Oregon. Those are the SpringBlake best bets for week 5. Now, ChatGPT is also doing bets. This used to be, we were going to start off this competition, ChatGPT versus SpringBlake, who knows ball more. This is ChatGPT's last week to figure things out. We might demote them. We might go to Grok. We might find another AI interface to go with. This is ChatGPT's last week because last week, week 4, they went 1-4, lost 3.45 units. Year to date, they are 10-15, down 6.62 units. We're not just going to have AI handout losers on this show week in and week out. They need to do a little bit better. This is the last week. We'll switch to Grok. Now, we are on one play together. We're taking Penn State minus 3.5. ChatGPT agrees with me there. I think a lot of these plays are square fucking plays. If the squares win this week, ChatGPT did great. I did terrible. They are taking Notre Dame minus 4.5 at Arkansas. Texas A&M minus 6.5 hosting Auburn. Tennessee minus 7.5 at Mississippi State. Those are 3 games we just discussed on Storm Chasers. So I said, hey, these are some interesting potential upsets for the week. And ChatGPT is saying, nah, lay the points. Very interesting to see how that goes. And then they're also taking USC versus Illinois over 59.5. It might not be a bad bet. I don't know about USC's offense getting up to full strength with the layover situation, but those are ChatGPT's best bets for the week. This might be the last week. We might be doing Grok versus SpringBlake for week 6. And that's our show. That's here for our Friday show. Like I said, we like to keep these a little bit shorter. How'd we do on time? Oh, dude, we crushed it. This is right in our wheelhouse for Friday shows. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Again, YouTube, subscribe, like the video, share it with a friend, leave a comment. If you're on Apple, Spotify, subscribe to the channel, 5-star review. Follow the socials at SpringBlakeCFB. That is Twitter, TikTok, and also go to the Action Network. If you have an account there and you want to follow every single one of my picks, you'll get all my best bets there. We will be back on Monday, and we're going to hopefully be talking about a lot of things we were right about. Hopefully not talking about a lot of things we were wrong about. I've had to wear the dunce cap a few times this season, but we've been more right than we have been wrong. So let's try and keep that going. I appreciate you. I love you, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Peace.